Hi guys, do you remember my first beer review from Hungary? This is Putte's second one. If you haven't watched the first one, you should go and watch that first. I will put a link to that one below in the description box. If you haven't watched the first video already, I spotted a problem with Putte's beers. Not in the beers itself or taste, but in the recipe. It had a really high FG and also have this beer. Couldn't taste that amount of high residual sugars. So my guess was that he might have took his final gravity with a refractometer. So I took a sample from the beer, measured it both with a refractometer and with a hydrometer, and that proved my point that the beer had fermented out much lower than the recipe said. And after that I have been in contact with Putte, and yes, he had used the refractometer to measure his FG. You should never use your refractometer to measure your FG. There are calculators that you can use if you really want to use a refractometer, but I think it's better to go with a hydrometer after fermentation. And the reason why you can't use a refractometer is because the alcohol affects the way the light bends in the beer. Refractometer are awesome during brew days, but after you have pitched your yeast, go back to the trusty hydrometer. Putte didn't have any hydrometer, but he promised me that he would buy one. So I expect that the next beer mail, I guess from Putte, will have the right numbers. Of course, numbers are only numbers, but that's what we use to calculate alcohol percentage, for example. This beer, according to the recipe, had an OG of 1056 and an FG of 1022, but that's, of course, is measured with a refractometer. The estimated final gravity was 1015. So, according to the recipe, Putte ended up with a 1% lower ABV. But of course, that's not the case. I won't measure this one also because numbers, only numbers. It's not that important to me if it has an alcohol of 5.4 or 5.3 or 5.5, but it's certainly not 4.5, so it's more in the 5.5 area. This is an American Pale Ale called the This is an American Pale Ale called the Pink Flamingo. Number 2, so it's his second try, batch 002. Have a look at the label, Pink Flamingo. The name of his brewery is titled Label Brewery. I said in the last review that Putte was a pilot in Hungary, but that was not totally correct. But he is working with heavy airlifting in Hungary, but he was not a pilot. So let's go through the recipe. He used 78.5% pale malt, 17.7% Vienna malt, 3.8% Crystal 40, and the hops Amarillo Centennial for 20 minutes, Amarillo Centennial for 10 minutes, Amarillo Centennial for 0 minutes. And this was dry hopped with Citra and fermented with USO5. Okay, so the Pink Flamingo comes in a flip top. It looks very, very clear. It has some sediment there in the bottom. Let's try to get it in the glass. Really nice pop there. Nice bit of smoke on the opening. Let's get it into a glass. Okay, I'm gonna stop it there. We'll add this later on, because I wanted you to see the beer. It's a crystal clear beer. It looks a little bit darker than your ordinary lager pilsner. Has a good level of carbonation. One finger white head. Let's give it a nose. It's hoppy, some sweetness there from the malt. I wanted to say Citra, but can't really pick a single hop out from it. On the nose, some breadiness also. Biscuits. Okay, let's dive in. Cheers, Putte. Sorry it took a while for me to try the other one, but finally. Okay, cheers guys. This is a nice one. Clean, biscuity, sweet, not in your face hoppy, but a good amount of hop taste there on the palate. Can't really remember the first one at this moment, but this is a very nice brew. No cattiness there from the Amarillo. I think it was a very good choice to dry hop with Citra instead. Some oranges, I guess that might be from the Amarillo. There's also almost like a honey flavor to it. It has a light bitterness, some sweetness. I guess it could be a tad more bitter, but I think it's a really, really great beer. So let's add the rest and see what happens. So as you see now, it's much more hazier. You just give your beer some time. It will clear up in the bottle, in the keg, whatsoever. But then you have to pour it gentle, or transfer the keg around, or filter your beer, or bottle directly from the keg. But let's try it with some of the sediment in there. I didn't stir the sediment up, so there's half the yeast cake there in the bottom. Cheers again. Let's see what happened. That actually smoothed the beer out a little bit, pushed the hops a little further back, and some breadiness up front. Either way, this is a very good brew. Let's see the brew date from this. This was brewed 14th of November, so it's a 3 months old brew. Still holding up. So I guess that's it. If you also want to send me beer mail, I will put my contact information in the description box. So cheers guys, and thanks for watching. Dr. Hans out.